kind of music that I don't understand. And they seem to, because they run to it, they buy it. Some of those groups are selling millions. But then it could be just programmed, it could be, we don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I want people to come back to just, how do you feel? And express it today. How do you feel? Express it to me in the best way you can. That's what is missing from the list of things you need to do what we do.
I agree with you 1,000%. But then there's a side of me that also looks at it from, what about the message?
Yeah. For me, when I write lyrics now, I don't know what people are thinking. I don't come from, at my age, I have no clue. I've been so far away from high school, so far away from college, so far away from everything except making music that I don't know what people are really, really thinking. I only know what I feel and what comes in my way. So that's all I sing about. I'm getting older now, so I think about this journey that I've had, and I sing about the adventure. I used to sing about trying to tell everybody what they need to do because I thought I needed to tell them. Now I look back and go, we have a journey, and we all have it, and we all learn from our journey from somewhere and somehow. And no matter what bad or good happens, there's always somebody that pops in to steer us a different direction to get us to that place, It's like a big soup that we're just spinning around in. And if we keep our eyes open, we can end up on the top, of the soup and be okay with life. And look at the soup that's going around you. And no matter how bad it is, how hot it is, you go, I get it. I'm all right. And that's how I'm getting in my old age. Everything else is like, oh, no. I got to change the world, got to fix everybody, got to help everybody. Now I go, hey, when I die, the world will go on, and I'll probably be forgotten. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's like live your day every day like it was your last day. Love relentlessly. If you did get nothing back, it don't matter. Go out, with positive energy. My aunt is 100 years old. I went to her birthday party last week, and everybody that got up and gave a speech said that she had never said an unkind word to anyone, closed her door on anyone, or ever, anytime anybody needed her, she was there. She's 100 years old. Not a negative word was said. It was like, who is this woman? And that's what we want. I think we just want to be okay and feel okay about ourselves, and want everybody else to feel okay that we're okay. And we just don't know how to do it.
Now, you mentioned that when you started,
mm-hmm.
you had a certain message that you wanted to put across.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so going back to when you started, does that mean King's X?
No, because King's X, I started King's X in 1980, and I was 30 years old at that time. So I had 10 years before that of bands that I was in, and then just singing and stuff like that before that.
That's something else we got in common. Well, I started playing with Ozzy when I was 30 years old, too.
Wow.
In 1980.
Hey, kids, keep doing it.
That's right. Don't give up.
So many people give up at 25 and go, I'll never make it. Oh, come on. Get out of here.
So prior to King's X, you had a certain message. What was the message once you started writing lyrics for King's X?
For King's X, the message was basically singing about anything that I felt in a way that didn't offend anyone, because I was a Christian at that time, and I wanted to sing about my faith. I wanted to sing about how I felt about things, but I didn't want to come across like I felt Christians did back then with the ultimatum, like, you need to be saved, you need Jesus, your whole life is miserable if you don't come to him. And I'm going, I don't want to put that stuff in there. I just want to talk about how I feel about being a Christian. So I did, and it still came off judgmental. We still couldn't get anybody to come see us because people didn't want to hear nobody preaching to them. And we went to a church where we were encouraged to be Christians in rock bands. That was at the beginning of the Christian rock thing started happening, like 1970 or 69. Larry Norman, a Christian guy, put a record out, and it was all about Jesus. And at that point, the Christian community, well, the rebels, if you want to call them that, felt like, oh, now we can rock for Jesus too, because before that, Christians couldn't listen to rock music. So, and I was at the beginning of that. Like my band, we were called Servant at the time in Chicago. There are several Christian bands out there, but churches still didn't accept us. They didn't want us to play loud. They thought that we were sinful, but we kept going on anyway. To the point now where Christian rock is fine, nobody cares. Stryper came along and just really straightened that out real quick and just said, we're Christians, we're going to do this, and all of a sudden kids went, that's cool, and then you can make money. You know how the music business goes, so let's not get to the dark side of it. But
yeah.
So after King's X came along, I put that band together, met Jerry and Ty, and we decided to play. I said, guys, I don't believe that we're supposed to be a Christian band. I don't believe we're supposed to go out and tell people they need to be saved. And they both said, I agree. And I went, great. This is a new breed of Christian people that just want to be themselves and live their life instead of this separate thing that we've been taught all our life. So for the first part of King's X, that's what I wrote about, how I felt about my faith. I look back now and feel like it still was preachy. Didn't realize it, though, because coming from where I came from, that was almost like unaccepted amongst Christians. And Christians used to get upset because we didn't have an altar call, and I didn't preach about Jesus to them, or to the audience, because we had all these kids that weren't saved coming to see us. And that is the world that I did not want to be in. So we did everything we could to stay away from it. We didn't play churches. We didn't go into that way at all, even though we're still considered a Christian band. But you learn, and you do what you do, and you take what comes back. It's like I didn't realize I was sounding preachy, but there it is. And a whole lot of people love those records, and it's changed their life. So I'm not going to complain about it. Am I babbling?
No, this is
okay.
great.
I see your eyes going.
No.
Your brain's ticking.
That means, it's turning because we have so much in common.
Oh, cool.
Right before I joined Ozzy, which is about the time you started King's X, I had my epiphany. I was raised Catholic.
Oh, you go.
And then I was starting searching for a closer connection. I found Catholic religion to be a little overwhelming emotionally. Not spiritually, but emotionally. It's a lot of fear that I felt coming from a traditional Latin Catholic environment. My families were not strict Catholic. They were Catholics, but not like my grandparents' generation. I mean, we're talking about me going to my grandmother's in Havana, and she opened the door, and behind her is Jesus on the cross, bleeding, and and all that. And then you look around, there's life-size saints all over the house, and it's like,
it's scary.
It is scary stuff for a kid. It is.
Yeah.
My first communion, that was scary. Going into the confessional with the Catholic priest before my my communion, and telling me, okay, tell me your sins. And I'm going, I'm just a kid.
Gotta make something up.
Yeah,
I lied to my mommy yesterday.
I don't know. I don't have any sins. Yes, you are a sinner.
Oh, and that's scary.
Scary stuff. And that left me a little scarred emotionally.
Well, then we totally agree on that.
So when I. And then in Cuba, we also mostly in Miami, because when I was in Cuba, I was too young to wander off on my own, searching for stuff. And one of them is I came across people that were into Santeria. It's the voodoo, the African religion, and you'll be surprised how many really educated people, because we tend to think, well, voodoo is for people that they're poor and don't have much education and they're not professionals. And no, this place was filled. I went to a seance, and there would be saint days. Like for every saint there was an African deity named after it. This one happened to be Saint Barbara, and it was December 4th. That's the annual, that's the saint day for that. And we were gathered in this place, and it was, there were even priests there. There was a priest, there was lawyers, doctors, very educated people, and we're in this room, and this lady dressed in white, smoking a cigar. She must have been, in her 70s, an older lady in a rocking chair. And she's all dressed in the traditional Santeria garb, and she's smoking a cigar and drinking aguardiente, which is like cheap booze, like
I'd like to try it.
And then she goes into a trance and she starts talking in African and all of a sudden they're bringing this girl, a young girl, and they put her in the middle of the living room. This is at somebody's house, in the living room, and she grabs some shrubs and starts to, it's called despojo, which is kind of like cleanse you from the evil spirits. And she's like chanting, sage, all that. I mean, the room smelled really nice. But she was getting beat with this stuff, It's kind of like
she was beating her with it.
Yeah, with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like in Russia they have these spas where you go in and you jump in a hot tub and then you come out and this guy beats you up with the shrubs. This is basically the same thing.
Okay.
That's another story.
Okay, we'll get into that later.
So I've been told. So all of a sudden, I'm watching this whole thing and I'm going like, wow, this is very spectacular. What's going on here? And I was like 17 years old, and then all of a sudden she looks at me and starts yelling at me in African, and she's smoking and she gets a cigar and she puffs it and she does like a silhouette around my body, with the smoke. And then she grabs me by the elbows and she picks me up and shakes me, trying to get like whatever is evil inside of me, to get it out. And I'm telling you, it was frightening and it was actually unbelievable. And I'm glad that I got to witness that. It might or may have not changed my life, because I have I didn't feel instantly, but I felt like I was different. I was different from that point on, So I've experienced that. At one point I was looking into Buddhism, and then one day I go to a Kmart. In the basement of the Kmart, they had a book, like cheap books, discounted books. This is in Hollywood, in LA. I've been trying to make it in the music business. I was, living with some girl. I was working at a place called McNaturals. And I was playing with Quiet Riot on the weekends. With Randy Rhoads. This is in the 70s, and I bought a Bible and I started reading it, and all of a sudden it was it had the Old and the New Testament. As a matter of fact, I still have the copy of it. It was my very first Bible. And it was something that nobody told me, that I had to feel a certain way about myself and my connection with God. It just happened. An epiphany. I was meditating right after because I would read a chapter every day, and I was meditating, and I was laying down in a bedroom, all white walls, and my eyes were closed, and I hear this buzzing sound, like really high pitch, and I open my eyes and I see this transparent. It looked like a gyroscope, spinning really fast over me, and I'm like, I didn't want to move because I didn't want to disturb it and maybe it would disappear, So I'm just, my eyes are open, I'm still, I'm not moving, and I hear this thing, and I open my eyes and it starts floating over my body, from head to toe. And then it projects itself on the white wall. So now there's images. They're transparent, but I could see them. There's a lot of different images with things that have to do with my life, certain things that have occurred. And then this orb appeared. And actually, I can see the orb if I stop whatever